There is no good time to fall out with your biggest trading partner, but it's an especially bad time after declaring your first recession since 1991. But Australia is now battling significant impacts from a raft of Chinese tariffs. The cause? Australia's hand in asking governments to block Chinese company Huawei from building 5G networks and strongly advocating for an inquiry into the origins of COVID-19. Former Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd sums up the situation bluntly.
How would you describe the current state of the Australia-China relationship?
Well, it's in the pits, and if there's a sub-basement to the pits, that's where it is.
China's sanctions have targeted the economic pillars of the Australian economy, agriculture and mining. Beef, barley, sugar and copper ore exports all stopped. Tons of live lobsters are now stranded, while floating off the Chinese coast is an estimated $700 million worth of Australian coal.
Here in the Hunter Valley, it's not only coal that's been impacted. This is also one of the oldest wine growing regions in the country, part of an export market of about $1.3 billion. Now, they've been cut off. Beijing says that Australian wine producers have been dumping product in China for below the price of production, slapping a tariff of up to 212% on Australian wine.
China is the industry's largest export market, outbuying the next largest, the United States, 4 times over. Tony Baddelane, Chief Executive of Australian Grape and Wine Incorporated, says the tariffs have left the industry in a state of panic.
A lot of people exclusively export to China, particularly companies with Chinese investment, and they really have nowhere to go. They haven't built up the relationships in other countries. They don't have the brand recognition, so it'll be very difficult for them to find another market.
After battling drought and bushfires in the past few years, growers in the Hunter Valley predicted a bumper harvest. But a large part of it will now go to waste.
We're going to have probably a big vintage this year, the first one in 4 years. All the crop signs look good, but the problem will be trying to sell the wine. There's no point in picking grapes and producing wine if there is no market for it.
Australia has taken its case to the World Trade Organization to sanction China, but Beijing shows little to no sign of backing down.
The channel for dialogue between China and Australia has always been open and unimpeded. At the same time, mutual respect is the foundation for dialogue and practical cooperation. I think Australia should do some serious thinking. They should think about whether they have respected China's interests.
Despite the rhetoric, both nations are still trading iron ore in record volumes. With no mention of sanctions on that resource, there is still a glimmer of hope for Australian industry that a new year could bring a return to the mutually beneficial relationship. Lachlan Guselli, TRT World.